And we are here at PAX, stepping a little bit outside of our niche of VR. You know,
we had to, though.
I had
Dude,
to.
we
for
had
this
to.
one.
When you saw this and you knew it was going to be here, it's all I've heard from you is the ass kicking I'm going to be taking.
Yeah, we're joined today with Will, the communications director for Steel City Interactive, the developers behind Undisputed Boxing.
Something you've been watching very closely for years.
For years. At one point, it was called ESBC, Esports Boxing Club. You know, the game grew, I think, a lot more than they were anticipating, at least as a fan
Dude,
side
I had a
of
great
things.
time playing it. I don't mean to cut you off, but even though I got my butt kicked,
It was
I had
close.
a really good time.
It was close, but, you know, Will, before we get right into it, do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit, you know, who you are, what you do for Steel City, and also a little bit about Undisputed Boxing?
Yeah, so I'm the communications director at SCI, and basically it means I talk about the game. We've been in development about 3 years now. It started out as a passion project from three brothers who, you know, recognize it's been over a decade since there's been a really big licensed boxing video game. So we thought we'd take a crack at it and see how far we could get, and got pretty far so far.
I'd say, I mean, how big is the roster at this point?
Yeah, so right now we're in early access, just over a month now, and our early access roster is right around 60 fighters. So it's already more licensed fighters than have ever been in a boxing game. I think for our part, that's really due to the boxing community embracing us, right? Just like we're waiting for a game, and like you guys, you know, have been interested in playing a boxing game, the boxing world wants one too, right? It's been so long, and you know, we really want to be able to do it justice and bring boxing back to the gaming space.
And it's got a good mix of top current fighters like Canelo Alvarez, but then you also have the legends like Muhammad Ali.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, Sugar Ray, you guys fought Sugar Ray Leonard and Arturo Gatti. Pretty good matchup.
I don't know if it went how it would in real life.
I did not do Sugar Ray justice at all.
But yeah, we've got a license, a roster of fighters. Like I said, 60 in early access. We have current fighters. We have legends. We also have a women's division for like the first time in about 20 years, a women's division in a boxing game. So yeah, we're trying to make a faithful recreation.
I get to channel my inner Holly Holm now, so that's awesome. So you said the team started with 3 people, but how big is it now?
We're a little over 30 people now, so we're making some progress. Yeah,
definitely. 3 to 30 is, you know, times 10. So
but I'm looking at what isn't even a finished product today, and it's phenomenal.
Yep.
Like if I had that in my hands today, I wouldn't be disappointed about it. I do have a question about the licensing. With that many, we'll say, personalities and professionals going on, was it difficult to get everybody on board for it, or was the consensus this is going to be good for boxing overall, so it was easier to get those fighters?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we had to earn it, right? I mean, I think, early on, that was a challenge. And a lot of it started with the local boxing community. We had people like Ryan Rhodes, a fighter who had a great career and shared a ring at one time with Canelo Alvarez. And he's somebody that stepped in early on to help us build some of those relationships. A couple of years ago, we brought in Todd Grisham, who does commentary on DAZN and is our commentator in the game. And him and a few other folks from the boxing world have really been instrumental in helping us sign the fighters, because we do have to sign them all individually. It's a lot of work, but overall, I mean, I think collectively, yeah, it feels like the boxing community has embraced us. They get it. They want to see a boxing game. It's good for the sport. It's good for gamers, and so here we are.
That's awesome.
That's huge. I wouldn't have thought there would have been too much pushback, because the more exposure for the sport, the better it's going to be for everybody. But no, that's huge.
I'm sure there's a lot of boxers too that, same thing that you've been saying as a fan. It's been 10 years since a good licensed boxing game. I'm sure there's a boxer out there with a big name going, I wish I was in a freaking video game. Why doesn't it exist,
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Who wouldn't really want to be in a video game? So I would hope the pushback wouldn't be too deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And, right now the game's available on beta on Steam, correct?
Yeah, it's on available for purchase on Steam Early Access. We don't have a full ship date yet. We are working toward a release that includes console, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X. And in the meantime, we're taking feedback from players who are playing the game. We're going to be shipping additional fighters throughout the course of Early Access, additional venues. We have a couple big features that we're working on, Create a Fighter and Career Mode, that'll be a part of that journey for us getting there to that full launch. We know the console players are patiently waiting, and we're doing everything that we can to make it awesome for them.
That's awesome. And how about from the PC players who are in the early access? What's kind of been the feedback been? Overall positive?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I think one of the great things about, you had talked to me earlier about, following the game since it was ESBC, and we have a lot of people that are kind of in that mold who have been playing Steam Early Access, and so they're making sure we do our due diligence, right, in terms of we say we're making an authentic boxing game, they're going to hold us to it, so we get feedback about things like stamina and damage and a lot of balance work, and that stuff is really important to us right now because, when it's 30 people playing in the studio, it's a lot different than opening it up to thousands of players who are then going to give us tons of feedback and some great data as well to understand how close we are to that experience of authenticity that we're looking for.
That's awesome. And, just playing it, the game has a lot of unique elements with the controls, with the standing up method, when you get knocked down.
Yeah.
Also, it looked almost a little ragdoll-y when he fell. I don't know if that was a preset animation when I knocked him down, but it looked a little ragdoll,
Yeah.
but which is good. I love that. But besides,
like a stiff,
yeah, it's a preset. But other things we didn't go over. What makes Undisputed Boxing? I almost said ESBC.
Yeah.
What makes Undisputed Boxing, in your opinion, special, unique?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a few things. I mean, when we talk about authentic boxing, right? It's really going to be the small detail things that players and boxing fans will care about. So when we're talking with you guys about, Kenny Bayless is the referee, or Jimmy Lennon Jr. is doing, calling you into the ring, announcing you into the ring. It's the small details, and I think inside the ring, it's a lot about footwork. We've really worked very hard on our footwork system. It's not the first 3D boxing game, but I think we feel like we've innovated a little bit in the ability to use that like lateral movement, really make sure you can use every inch of the ring. The footwork doesn't sound exciting, but right, when just me talking about it, but when you see it in the game and your ability to be able to move to where you want to move to and pick those shots and angles and things like that, I think that's a big differentiator for us.
The game, look, you say it doesn't sound fun, but for me as a boxing fan, somebody who's grown up playing boxing games, an emphasis on footwork and movement is authentic boxing, and you feel it when you move around with the characters. For one, the way each character moves looked a little bit different, at least in the two characters that we saw. And then you have that loose hands mode, so I love it. It doesn't sound exciting maybe for you, but for me as a fan,
even if it doesn't sound exciting when you're playing it, I think you're going to appreciate the value of why it's there. Mm-hmm. And if you choose to not use that, you're going to be kissing canvas. Yeah. I mean,
well, I think we spent
I'm a living example of what happens when you just go in swinging.
I think we spent the first 30 minutes or 30 seconds just kind of moving around in the match, and it felt fluid. It felt really, really good. So I'm so excited for this release. You said anticipating coming to consoles down the line. There's no actual release date yet, which is, I always love to hear that, versus set in stone on a deadline and then things get rushed. But before we let you go, Will, is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners about the game, or where they can find you guys on social media, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're basically Play Undisputed everywhere. If you go to playundisputed.com, you can find our information. I think we're just really excited to have a boxing game. We think gamers deserve a boxing game, and we're happy to have so much support that's helped us get here.
Awesome.
I will say, before we close, probably one of the best visually and smoothest playing boxing games I've ever played. So this is going to be a hit.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So thank you again for joining us, Will.
Thank you
and
so
I'm
much.
so excited for this full release.